Welcome to A Cup and a Conversation. I'm Grant Ongst, Community and Economic Development Director for the City of Brunswick, and today we have Kathy Breitenbucher from the Medina County Convention and Visitor Bureau. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Grant. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. We're glad to have you. We're going to talk about the CVB, Convention and Visitor Bureau. Isn't that a great acronym? The initial CVB. Where else could we do that except MCCVB?
Exactly. Now, that's why I tend to say I'm from Visit Medina County.
Visit Medina County. That's what we're going to call it from now on, Visit Medina County. So what is Visit Medina County?
So the whole purpose is to bring folks into Medina County to shop and spend money and stay overnight. So It's all about economic development. It's all about travel and tourism and just getting to show off our fabulous county.
Oh, that's terrific. Now, why should people care about that? What is it that people want them to take away? What's the goal?
Well, so obviously we want to fund our governments because we need roads, we need police, we need all those good services. If people coming from outside Medina County are paying for those services, how is that a bad thing, right? So we can all be very happy about that.
So they bring, what you're telling me is they bring in extra money to the community.
Exactly. The piece that many people don't realize is we're the only county in the entire state that has a school-funded sales tax, or funding of our schools through sales tax. So it only can be used for capital improvements. So our schools are somewhat limited in what they can do with it. But anybody who spends money in Medina County is putting money into our schools for us. That's
a great point. And I think that's called a permanent improvement fund, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep. So a percentage of all the sales, no matter what it is, as long as it's being made here, goes into that.
And it's great if I'm spending money in the county, that's wonderful. So my sales tax goes to my schools.
Well, that's a multiplier effect because you live here, so the dollars actually are greater.
Right. But if my parents come from Cuyahoga County and they spend money, that also goes to our schools. And so now, I can have a lesser tax burden in Medina County because we increase our travel and tourism.
That's terrific. So Visit Medina County. There's a lot to visit here, quite frankly. Let's step back and look at the history of Visit Medina County. Tell me the history a little bit.
So founded in 1991, the commissioners decided they wanted a visitor bureau, so they launched it. We have had one executive director so far. He actually just retired on Friday.
Oh, congratulations.
So we wish Dan all the best. He did a great job of setting up our organization and getting things going. And it's funded through bed tax. So when you stay in a hotel, you pay a piece of that money to the Visitor Bureau, and we're able to use it to fund the programs that we do. So the good news is our entire budget comes from people coming from outside the county.
Oh, that's terrific. So what about, you mentioned the bed tax. So how many hotels do we have? Do you know?
Oh, good heavens. I should know. I want to say 14.
14, wow. That's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah,
That's
it could
great.
be wrong.
I don't think so. Well, let's go with 14.
Yeah, we're just going to pretend.
You mentioned the county commissioners wanted a visitor bureau, so this is how it started. And do you know anything about its infancy, how it kind of evolved into what it is today?
Not yet.
Okay.
Being fairly new to the organization.
Yeah, because just recently, this brings up a certain interesting point. You have multiple roles within the county, and you're now executive director of the board, right?
So I am at some point going to be appointed the executive director of the CVB.
Okay.
But I also work for the Medina County Economic Development Corporation. So that entity currently oversees the Visit Medina County. So it's a complicated relationship as I am an employee of both and sit on the board of one.
Okay.
So we'll get that straightened out.
Oh, sure.
We have a little time to deal with that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in the early days, the Visitor Bureau, because MCEDC was started at a very similar time.
Okay.
So the Visitor Bureau was really looking at travel and tourism, but part of that work also included partnering with MCEDC, which is all about attracting, retaining, and expanding business.
So like workforce.
Workforce is a huge piece of my job.
Huge piece.
Yes. And it covers both sides, right? Because, you have to attract people here. You're not gonna move somewhere if you haven't looked at it. Nobody's just gonna out of the blue say, let's move to Medina County. So they come here to visit, they realize what a great place is, they come to Brunswick and they say, wow, I've got everything I need at my disposal. I'm super close to all kinds of big city things, but I don't have to have the hassle or frankly the taxes to support them. So it's a great place to live. And then they move here and then they work here and everybody wins.
That's fantastic. So you got involved because there was kind of a merger, right?
Right.
Between Visit Medina County, the CVB, and Medina County Economic Development Corp. And really, when you look at what Medina County Economic Development Corp, MCEDC, does, their job is to really help expand the footprint of business and support the businesses that are here to grow and to thrive in whatever mechanism they choose to. But at the same time, how do we continue to improve the quality and the viability of our life here in Medina County? So with that, CVB was kind of put under the umbrella, if you will, of MCEDC.
Correct.
Okay.
And one important point, I think, people accuse economic developers of being very development hungry. We want to develop everything, no green space. And that is not the case here in Medina County. We're very committed to green space and making smart decisions and keeping Medina County the same feel it has today. That's very important to us. We have an incredible culture here. People are very jealous of Medina County. And so we want to keep that the same. So partnering with the Visitor Bureau, it really does just go hand in hand, because one of the big areas that we promote at the CVB is parks. And we talk about our parks, and we're always bragging on our parks, and we're helping our parks district as much as we possibly can. And
that's Medina County parks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or city parks. I mean, the cities all have parks as well. And we want to promote all of it, and we want to make sure that when development happens, that we're being smart about it. We never want to develop somewhere where it's not going to make sense. So having these two entities, I'm working with a project right now on the economic development side that when it comes to fruition will then become an attraction on the Visitor Bureau side. So they really do go hand in hand and allow us to celebrate all the things that we've always found important about Medina County.
Right, because for example, talking about business and visitors at the same time, here in Brunswick, we've got a number of sites that people come to visit, one of which is Mapleside, and that's been around a long time, but it's also an economic driver.
Absolutely. So you get somebody to come to Mapleside for an event, if you can then show them that there's more and they could stay overnight and then hit Scene 75 the next day, now we've got a weekend, right? And so you're spending more money and you're spending more time and you're falling in love with our community. We're going to be doing a lot of, in the spring, well, in January, February, March, a lot of, what can you do with the kids because they're stuck inside and you're really tired of having to deal with them. So that's not going to be the name of the campaign. But we'll do something that, will allow us to celebrate those kinds of activities. And then, throughout the year, during the summer, obviously, we talk about all the outdoor activities that we can do. And then in the fall, all the great leaves and pumpkins and all that stuff. And then in the holidays, all the great holiday events. So we'll have lots of opportunities to brag on Medina County. It's really a fun job.
It is, and it's there's always something to do.
Absolutely. And then, in thinking about why do people drive, why would you leave your county? Food, that's a big deal. So we are launching Medina County, which
very good.
I think that's fun.
That's awesome.
And so, hopefully this year, but most likely next year, I'll be starting a series where it'll just be where's Kathy, having lunch. And going out regularly and being able to brag on restaurants that maybe even, people who live here don't know about. But being able to get out to the world, hey, here are the great things we have going on in the dining scene. Because we have some fabulous chefs.
We do.
We have some fabulous cooks because they don't want to call themselves chefs.
Yes.
We have bakers. We have all kinds of people that if they got attention, that people come to have food there.
That's right.
Ohio pie is a great example. Who doesn't want to come and have Ohio pie?
That's right. Nick started his First Ohio Pie here. It's right essentially at the corner of 303 and Pearl Road in Brunswick. He expanded it, and then within the plaza itself, and now he's also opened up a second location a little farther on the west side.
And of course, my favorite, you just walk down the plaza and you get your donuts.
That's right.
I mean,
and what is that place again?
the Donut Land, yes.
Donut Land, yes.
24 hours a day.
Yes.
But we did have a donut contest this summer. This summer, we had 5 interns from the Medina County Career Center business class. And so we did take them across the county to make sure they tried all the donuts, and Donut Land won.
I have no doubt about that.
I wasn't surprised.
It is a favorite of many, including myself, much to the dismay of a certain physician. But
yeah, we don't.
That's a whole other issue.
No, we don't talk about that.
So you've talked about a lot of different things here. You've talked about the integration and the partnering with Medina County Economic Development and Visit Medina County and how that interacts with the community. And you also touched a little bit on workforce. And I'd like to go back and revisit that a little bit, because really in our county here, we've got such phenomenal businesses, both commercial, which are more service oriented, and then we've got a lot of manufacturing here, and we're very proud of our businesses here in Medina County. And our manufacturers and everybody we know currently are still looking for people all the time. They're looking for entry level, they're looking for certain skills. How do we go about getting more people here, Kathy?
So now we're going to tax your ability to manage my conversation.
Yes.
Being my favorite topic in the world. Here we go. So with workforce. And workforce is the biggest issue in the country. And I'm going to say it publicly because I say it privately all the time. But inflation is driven by workforce. Supply chain issues driven by workforce. All of these things, because the workforce problems we're experiencing in Medina County are not unique to us. They are global. They are first world problems, and they're not going away anytime soon. So it's really important we get our arms around this workforce problem. So what we have done is we've really started ramping up programs to not only build the pipeline, so help our high school students figure out how to stay here and work here, but also how to bring people who aren't in the workforce today into the workforce. Now, people tell me all the time, there are all these people who are just sitting around not wanting to work. There's no one sitting around not wanting to work. I mean, of course there are.
Especially in Medina County, there are,
Yeah,
but
there
very
are.
few.
Yeah, there really aren't.
You've done the studies, actually, right?
Absolutely. And we are back to the same level of workforce participation that we had before the pandemic. So the same number of people are working today as were working in 2018. So we know this, and we've studied this. The people who aren't working have a number of reasons. So one of them we've always heard is transportation. So we have a program where we're literally picking people up and driving them to work. We have a taxi company because it was very important to me that they be bonded drivers. I don't want to put people into cars with strangers. Don't love that. And we are working through what that model could look like to see if it makes sense. What we're finding is people that don't have transportation tend to have other issues as well. And so they need more wraparound services. So we're working with our nonprofit partners to figure out what can happen to keep this going or to help them, move forward. Those folks have to go through financial empowerment counseling through United Way, which actually is a program available to anyone, but it is specifically required by our participants in Ways to Work. Because the idea is they get a good job, they get a career, they make enough money, they can now start saving for a car, and they get out of the program. Awesome.
And you mentioned Ways to Work. So really, you're trying to look at a comprehensive way of how do we get people to work.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
So those are folks who aren't in the workforce today. Other people that aren't in the workforce today but are working with job counselors are put on a spreadsheet. It's just their first name, so we're not giving away their contact information or anything. But the job counselor's information is attached, and employers can look each week at the updated list and call the job counselor to get contacted with the person. The great thing about that is, as a company, I look at it on Monday, I say, I want to talk to these 3 people. I call the counselor says, 2 of those guys got work, but I have this new person who's coming in today, or whatever. And you start building that relationship. That's so vital for business. Then, it's a hard one to do because you don't have a lot of time. So this puts it on a spreadsheet, so it's a silver platter, basically. So that's a great way to get connected to people who aren't in the workforce. So we have a number of programs there. Then we're also building the pipeline. So we work very closely with our schools. I'm going to be shameless and say, if you want to volunteer to help with any of our school programs, go to medinacounty.org and sign up. Right now, I need about 1,200 volunteers total.
For this year.
For all our school events. So we have lots and lots of programs to connect kids directly with people in careers. Because, people complain, kids today, they just want to be YouTube stars. Well, when Bones was a big TV show, there was an article in one of the magazines about how all these kids wanted to be forensic anthropologists. It's not a thing. There are like 4 in the world. And so the FBI was exhausted because all these kids would apply and say, I want to be a forensic anthropologist. They'd be like, no, you can't do that. When I was a kid, everybody was going to be an attorney because if you recall back then, all the shows were attorney shows. If we don't show kids what's possible, they go with what they know because they're just like anyone else. So we show kids, we take them out, we help them see different kinds of companies. We actually have a career coach, his name is Mitchell Bemke, and he is meeting with individual students to talk through what can they do with their careers. So when they go, I have no idea what to do after high school, he's there to help walk them through that. We'll get them job shadowing, we'll get them internships, whatever they need, we'll help them connect.
And I bring this up because what Visit Medina County does is, let's say those folks stay here, or we're able to get additional workforce here. They're here in the county, buying things,
absolutely,
spending money, potentially moving and living here. And those folks then, at different times when they're not working, they need something to do. Hence the connection between workforce, engagement, and Visit Medina County, because it's not just people from the outside, but it's people from the inside as well, wanting to boast about all the great things here.
And it's really important when we do community planning, as you well know, that we think about the future of our communities. If we just keep the people that we have, we are all aging, as much as we don't want to own that. You're not. You're perfect the way you are, but the rest of us are all aging. We want our communities to stay vibrant and alive, right? And so we don't want to have everybody in the county be 100 years old. We want, variety of ages. So we have to keep attracting people to come in and or stay after high school. So right. It's important to have that mix, and that's where the CVB becomes such an important piece of that, because at some level, when's the last time you did a staycation where you stayed in county?
Right.
So you don't necessarily know what's in your backyard.
That's
and
right.
There's so much fun stuff here. And if you can know that, then when people come visit you, you have a million things to do instead of 2,
That's right. So interestingly enough, you had mentioned many of the events that take place throughout the year, and you're compiling a whole agenda, if you will, on how to move that forward and how to get that information out there. What are some of the things you're planning on, how you're going to communicate this out to the general public?
So we actually have got a very targeted strategy because we have to differentiate ourselves. I mean, at the end of the day, my favorite moment when my husband and I were dating, so he comes from Holmes County and I grew up in Cuyahoga County, and I would go through, Holmes County and be like, where are we? I have no idea. He would come to Cuyahoga County, and his question was, how do you know that you're in a different city? Because I'd be like, this is Westlake, this is Bay Village. And he couldn't figure out how you could tell. And to me, it was like, well, obviously, it's so different. So we have the same problem in Medina County. How do we differentiate ourselves so that there's a reason to come here? And how do we make it unique? So one of the things we're doing is garage sales. There's a huge garage sale in Seville every year. It's one of the world's biggest. There's a giant Litchfield flea market. And then lots of our residents have garage sales. Well, people will drive.
A lot.
Yeah, they will drive from other counties to come to garage sales. And what if it was easy for our residents to post their garage sale into a place that was actually being marketed on social media on a weekly basis? So that's one of the places we want to look. Our Project Learn group that runs the bookshelf stores.
Yes. We have one here in Brunswick, Ohio.
We do.
Yes, right on Pearl.
Exactly. They actually get rare books donated periodically. And for people who collect books, they want to know that. So we're going to help them put together a program that they'll be able to post the rare books that they receive. So we're trying to find those niche markets that are kind of unique and different and be able to put together some ways that the average person can then find all those things so they can come to Medina County.
Terrific. Has there ever been a compilation of during different times of year, whether it be the fall or the winter, where there's been a true grouping of specific areas and activities from the CVB to say, okay, here are all the farms in Medina County that have activities. Here's all the sledding hills. Here's all the family game places. Has there ever been a compilation of that?
We're certainly working on that. Now, our monthly newsletter does go through all the events, and we do try and capture every event.
So you have a monthly newsletter.
We do
How
have
does one sign up for that monthly newsletter?
Visit medinacounty.com.
Visit medinacounty.com. I was on the website the other day. It's a very lively, happy website.
That's good.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so when you go on there, there's a place to sign up for the newsletter?
Absolutely. I believe it's at the bottom and the top.
Okay, terrific. Terrific. So you're working on something.
Yeah, so we're working on some compilation lists like you're describing of all the places you could go for different things. But we definitely are getting the attractions out and getting out, events and things that are coming up.
So you're discovering things to do. How can people that have these businesses or activities at their different areas, how can they get in touch with you to make sure they're on that list?
Absolutely. They can email me at Kathy with a K at visitmedinacounty.com.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, it sounds like with you working on new strategies and new developments for Visit Medina County, tying in workforce with it, trying to make sure that the students in our school systems here are educated on the job opportunities here in the county and how they can grow and exchange and engage with professionals. Keeping them from the brain drain, but in keeping them here close to home, but allowing them to expand their knowledge, that we're moving in the right direction. We've got a lot of things going on in the county. But we've got some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
And
it's not my favorite swear word, right? It's not
no.
Okay.
Luckily not here on this one. Maybe some other podcasts we might come up with.
So you're not channeling your Lipton. Okay.
I'm not. So, what's your favorite color?
Pink.
Best pizza slice ever?
Oh, Enrico's in Dublin, Ohio.
Favorite donut shop?
Donut Land. That one's easy.
Okay. What's one thing people need to know about Kathy?
Wow, that's a good question.
Just one.
Yeah, I'll always give you an idea.
Okay.
Whether you want it or
Whether
not.
you want it or
Yeah.
not. Favorite coffee drink if you drink coffee?
Oh, I totally drink coffee. And human bean Mexi mocha. Oh my goodness.
Okay. What's one piece of advice you would give a stranger? You're standing in line, you might be
Visit
tacking.
Medina County.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Art.
What are you passionate about in life?
Solving problems.
One goal you have for yourself?
Oh, good heavens. I have to have goals for me?
Yes, you do.
To get through this week?
If you could go back and change one thing, what would it be?
That's an interesting question.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, that one's hard because honestly, I've been really, really lucky and things have been really, really fun.
That's good. That's good. What about, I'm assuming you maybe like ice cream or chocolate?
You think?
What's your favorite ice cream?
Ooh, you can't pick one.
I can.
I mean, chocolate. I mean, that's
Chocolate.
the base. But
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So any other last comments or thoughts about Visit Medina County or anything we've talked about today?
Just that everyone in Medina County should take time to celebrate that we live here on purpose. We're getting into the time of year people are going to start complaining about weather. Some of us love the cold weather and are not happy in the hot weather, but you chose to be here. So remember that, and when you're talking to people from outside the county, celebrate Medina County.
Well, thank you very much, Kathy B., as we call her, for sharing about the CVB. Visit medinacounty.com. It's on your closest computer or phone that you've got. Go to it now, take a look, see what we've got going on. And this has been a moment in time for a cup and a conversation. We appreciate everybody's time and listening to us. Kathy, thanks for coming, and have a wonderful day, everyone.